I'm about to do a presentation that's very similar to the kinds that you're going to be doing in class. In fact, it's a lecture that is designed to fill in for ones that students weren't assigned to do. How do I do this? I actually start with the same resource that you're going to have. This is a listing of various terms, various names, some ideas that basically take people through their presentation. These are things that I want you to cover. The next thing I'm going to do is to go right to this book, Oscar Brockett's History of the Theater. This is on reserve in the library, so you'll be able to use this. You could also use something such as, this is Wilson's Living Theater, and there are other books. Again, they're on reserve in the library. Now, why start with the book? The books put things in context, specifically in context of the history of theater. Some of these may not seem clear to you if you were to look them up, for example, on Google or Bing. But if you take a look at something like History of the Theater, it lays it out for you in a way that is very clear and relevant to this class. Start with a name that might be a bit of a mouthful, Nikolai Oklopov. He was a Russian designer in the 1920s, but I'll have to admit, I'm getting a little fuzzy on that, so I'm going to look him up and figure out exactly what I'm talking about. I go to my Brocket, check the index, and I find the section on Nikolai. And I find that he was one of the most significant experimenters of the 1930s. And he had something called the realistic theater. And I find that he eliminated a platform stage, placed action in the auditorium, used a central playing area, staged scenes on the periphery of the auditorium on a bridge overhead. The question is, what of this is useful? Well, if I take a look at this and think about what it says, it's that he's using unconventional staging techniques, the way he's placing people, the way he's doing that. And if I read a little bit more, I get a better idea of what he's doing. So I can express it in about 3 or 4 pithy syllables. Now, I've got an idea what I want to say. So now I go to my PowerPoint. You can see on the screen I've already done some work already with that. You can see that basically I've got his name and nothing else. A couple of pictures would be good. So what do? I go to Google and I find a couple of pictures. Here's the first one. As you can see, simple picture. Very nice, very easy. I get that set up, and then I decide, well, that's not quite enough. Let's show his stage. Because after all, this is for the staging part of the show, the staging part of the lecture. And so there I go. If I type in Nikolai Oklopov, Realistic Theater, I now get this picture. And let's see what happens when we put them in PowerPoint. As you can see, we start off with Nikolai, and then on top of that, I put in a picture of his theater. I'm going to add some animation, but since this is done differently in different versions of PowerPoint, I'm not going to include that here. But I will show you what the overall presentation looks like in this short movie. As you can see, we see the lettering, we see his picture, and then we transition to a look just of his slide. Now, throughout this, I'll have notes, so I won't be looking at the screen when I do it. But there's something else that I want you to be aware of. If you saw the first slide I showed you of the PowerPoint presentation, you'll see that there are several ones that I'm doing. Let's take a look at my first draft. Notice that these are in no particular order. And sometimes that happens. You look at this, you have a long list of material, and you see that this doesn't really make any sense. Things are more memorable if you have a definite order to them. Chronological is fine. What I've done in the second slide is I put things in chronological order. And so we start with the earliest one, which is Richard Wagner, and then we end with 21st century multimedia presentations. I hope this has helped. It's a beginning, it's just a start, and you're going to find your own techniques that work well for you.